Here's a painful, difficult problem you've probably tackled but haven't solved. Namely, how can a loving and omnipotent God allow such awful and so much human distress? Theologians call that the problem of theodicy, but just the words there don't hurt. But picture someone dear to you and think of Alzheimer's or rape. Even the words hurt now. We lately spent 4 of these sessions studying Dostoevsky's books on theodicy and found his to be great literature, but a failing effort. Milton wrote Paradise Lost specifically to justify the ways of God to man, but again, superb writing, but poor theology. All the way back to Euripides, probably further, people have asked, do the gods rule over us, or are we the sport of chance? And it's the kind of problem that to answer it, the situation must be existential, not merely academic. Let me explain. In a movie called Shadowlands, Anthony Hopkins plays the part of C.S. Lewis, eminent Oxford lay theologian. He's often invited to address ladies' groups on the question of theodicy, and he published a book of his lectures, The Problem of Pain. In the movie, as in his actual life, Lewis falls in love with a gentle, wise American widow who has a 12-year-old son. She marries Lewis. It's tenderly beautiful, but she gets incurable terminal cancer. They share months of dread, and she dies. Lewis and his little stepson are inconsolable. At the movie's end, Lewis and the lad weep hopelessly together. It's true and poignant and cruel. When at last he can, Lewis writes a book titled A Grief Observed, in which he examines his pain. Those earlier theologically correct answers aren't helpful at all now. His cool academic solutions in this book are replaced by bewildered heartbreak in this book. So here's a humble caution to anyone who's theorizing about theodicy, including me. To really grapple with this problem, it can't be merely classroom lecture material, but it's best if it's coming through actual living pain. And while I'm cautioning against casualness, here's another. I was 15 and in a World War II hospital ward with 30 other patients, some seriously ill, some, like me, lightly. A fullback had broken my nose, and I'd had surgery to put it right. But the old man in the next bed had a brain tumor. He was going blind with it, suffering terribly, but he was just gritting his teeth. It was Sunday evening of boredom for me and agony for him, whom I was too scared to look at. Some church folk wheeled in a harmonium, asking to worship with us, offering some hymns, a prayer, encouragement. And then I saw the old man trying to lift his hand to them, so I called out. And the pastor came and leaned over, and the old gent whispered, "Could we sing 'Abide with Me,' sir?" "Surely," a nod to the harmonium player, and then he and the church folk sang. At first, only a few patients joined them, but then we saw the old man was trying to get the words out too, so we tried to remember them with him. Soon tears started down my bandage, and most of us were crying. Later, I made sure I knew the words. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where grave thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me. Hold thou thy cross before my closing eyes. Shine through the gloom. Point me to the skies. Heaven's morning breaks and earth's vain shadows flee. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. The old man died that night, but I knew it was all right with him. Now, though, tackling the problem of theodicy calls for true seriousness, I'd like, nevertheless, to tackle the question with the help of a book with a light-hearted title, Play the Ball Where the Monkey Drops It. Here's my copy. Play the Ball Where the Monkey Drops It, by the Reverend Gregory Jones. If there were a Nobel Prize for book titles, this one's a grabber. Its humorous, intriguing, clever image draws one to examine the serious substance of the book, which its subtitle reveals: why we suffer and how we can cope. Now, no quick summary of a book can do it justice, but I'm 99 and haven't too much time, so here goes. Jones gets his image from the Brits when they ruled India. After an hour or two of ruling, they take the day off and play golf. But the local monkeys would spoil their game by nipping in and chucking the balls about. The Brits tried all ways to stop them. One, they'd lure them off to a distant place. But the pests so loved playing with the ball, they'd find their way back. Two, the Brits caged the monkeys, but dozens more turned up. Three, the Brits built a fence, but monkeys are good at climbing fences. Four, the Brits even tried training them to ignore the balls, but the monkeys preferred to ignore the Brits. Now, to a preacher, this offers a good analogy of human life. The ball is the little sphere of our being. Life is about our trying to roll it where we want it to go. The monkeys are life's setbacks, and we try every which way to prevent them. Well, you get the point. At last, the Brits gave up and made a new rule. We'll play the ball where the monkey drops it. I'm sure I've done the Reverend Jones an injustice with this summary. He's obviously a caring pastor and a fine scholar. His book is valuable and important. And it sets us thinking of various answers that we've struggled with in our own lives. One is that our loving God has given us freedom and won't limit it by interceding in our lives, even to prevent our suffering or our causing suffering. But when we do suffer, God suffers with us and constantly tries to draw us compassionately to good ways of enduring it, especially through Jesus and his suffering on the cross. Maybe, too, through our suffering, God is training us up to be strong. A familiar analogy is of an oak tree up on an exposed mountain. The winds and hail buffet it constantly, so it ends up with a lovely and very sturdy grain. Our suffering, too, can shape our character to be strong and beautiful. With some of our suffering, it's a matter of scale, as in, God's far too busy worrying about Washington to worry about my boil. The Reverend Jones offers more that's helpful, and I'd just add a few thoughts that he stimulated. First, a personal word. My formative years were spent in the UK during World War II. So you won't be surprised to learn that for me, Churchill was a hero. And for him, I believe those golfing Brits in India that the Reverend Jones speaks of were far too passive, far too defeatist in giving in to the monkeys. Churchill's way was never, never, never give up. Somehow we can, we must, we will outwit our foes. Even more important is that for all of us, Jesus can be our inspiration. His way was to face hate with love. Where there's disease, try to heal it. Recall what effect he had on Mother Teresa in the horrors of Calcutta. Day after day, year after year, simply doing what she knew Jesus would be doing. One at a time, caring for God's children, serving them, loving them. Here, as I remember, is her way of meeting the misery all around her. The good you do today, folk may forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Your forgiving may get you even more hurt. Forgive anyway. Your simple honesty may invite them to cheat you. Be honest anyway. What you spend years building, they may destroy overnight. Build anyway. Give the world the best you have. It won't be enough. Give your best anyway. That was how she lived out St. Paul's encouragement in Romans 8:28. All things work for good with those who love God. What light that throws on our path. As does, and I'll close with this radiant event. This from John 9. Jesus and the disciples come upon a man blind from birth. The disciples ask, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? This is the theodicy question in first century's understanding, that one's ailments are linked to one's sins or someone's sins. The disciples want to discuss it with one who knows. If God is all loving and all powerful, why was this poor man from innocent babyhood condemned to disability and begging and humiliation? But Jesus won't stop to have a discussion. Instead, he goes to the man and helps him. That's his teaching. Here's someone hurting. Don't start a cosmic argument with God. Go and help the person while it's still light, Jesus said. We pass from one another's lives so quickly. Do what you can to help now. The hard problem of pain may indeed be beyond us. If so, our prayers surely are that one day we'll be face to face with God and we'll ask him. Meanwhile, here in our daily lives, when you're in distress or someone else is, take it as a Christly chance to do something about it, or at least try doing something loving, getting some good out of it, both for this present moment and our future life that will last forever in God's presence. Bless you, friends.